So, Avengers Doomsday, they did a bloody 5.5 hour live stream. Marvel did a 5.5 hour live stream. It's here. Although it's like a weird link now.
They have the whole
Five
thing
and a
on
half
YouTube
hours.
also.
Just slowly every 10 minutes or whatever it was, go into a new chair that had a new name on it. And I just, we'll look at some of the comments and things like that. This is more of like a discussion piece than anything else. Like I put in, the thumbnail to this video is a joke, right? It's a joke because it's a bit of a meme, because obviously this is what Marvel used to do. Generic race swap girl boss, right? Like it's funny. I'm not saying anything like that was announced, because it wasn't. But 5.5 hours. What happened to San Diego Comic-Con and Hall H and the hype? I mean, I covered this in my video earlier today, and I want to get your thoughts on it. That's why we're covering it now. Is that what are they doing? Like, I think that they've lost it. I think they've lost the plot, because they obviously think that they've got enough goodwill with the fans to do a 5.5 hour stream, but they don't. They don't have enough goodwill with fans. They just don't. And people are watching, like, the 40.5 million views is not 40 million people watching it. That's people leaving it and coming back, leaving it and coming back and going, what is going on? What the hell is happening here? And they did this before, didn't they? They did the weird live stream for Captain Marvel. It was just cats, like, just randomly. They also did that weird live stream for Fantastic Four where they sort of just messed around beforehand for quite a while, and then they released the trailer. What a terrible way to build hype for a movie, to waste everyone's time. And the thing is, if it's a case of like rage marketing, because they want to get people to talk about it, that's fine. If you're also not disrespecting your fans at the same time, which is what they did. And the comments are comedy gold, which we'll go through in a minute. But I thought I'd get your thoughts on it overall first. So let's go to you first, Marvin. What do you reckon to all of this?
This was nonsense. It was absolute nonsense. It started with Chris Hemsworth, and then it just slowly kept going back down. It was Z-lister after Z-lister. It was Simu Liu. It was the guy that plays M'Baku. It was every Thunderbolt except for Taskmaster. It was absolutely ridiculous that they do stuff like this. And you're right. Like, what happened to the Hall H panels that generated so much excitement? If they had done this before Infinity War, when they still had all the goodwill in the world and people were actually excited for a movie that had actual stars in it and characters that people liked, I think they would have actually had something here. They could have actually done something like this and made it a fan event. I think people still would have gotten bored, but but I will say, if I had a choice between sitting through that 5.5 hours again or sitting through the Eternals again, I would probably take the 5.5 hours of chairs.
Oh, I wouldn't. Not sure I would.
The Eternals was that bad.
Sucked, but, oh, God. I just don't get it. What a terrible thing to do. Like,
it's the weakest. It's the weakest Avengers lineup that you could possibly comprehend. And they left out a lot of big name heavy hitters, like Tom Holland. Spider-Man's not there because his movie comes out like a month after this. Doctor Strange wasn't in there. Rhodey wasn't in there. And I'm like, how are you going to do a movie with evil Tony Stark and you don't have Peter Parker or Rhodey in it?
Yeah, well, we'll get to the plot. We'll get to the plot leak in a minute. I just thought we'd talk about this as that first.
Sorry, I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, what do you, Culture? What do you think about all of this? I mean, again, with respect to very specifically, I want to drill down on the fact that Marvel hasn't had any good hits for a while, right? So their active fan base is smaller than it's ever been, and so they then decide that what they want to do is make a live stream for 5.5 hours to their very small active fan base, the smallest it's ever been. What a weird decision. Do you agree or disagree? What's your take on all of this?
I think they had the perception that if they were able to draw something out that might generate some hype for this film. I think that this was to combat the idea that that they were losing fans. I think they probably drove more away during this event. First and foremost, I don't care how many stars you have in your film. And I I don't care about any of that. I want the characters that I'm familiar with. There was not one Avenger in here, unless they think that Thor is still an Avenger. Um, I mean, there were no real Avengers in it, which is one of the reasons why I titled the Stinger the way I did. There aren't any. You look at the cast. You have Tom Hiddleston. He's a villain. He's Loki. He's not an Avenger. You have again, the only one in there I think is Thor. Point at
Fun-
something else, because War Machine is not an Avenger.
Well, you could say that Beast was an Avenger for quite a while in the comics. Like,
No, I'm
canonically.
talking about like we're talking about normies. What other Avengers were in there? I mean, is anybody going to even
the
tag?
Falcon was an Avenger, so I guess you could say Anthony Mackie, Captain America, is an Avenger also.
Well, the idea at the end of Captain America: Brave New World was he was going to restart the Avengers, wasn't he? So, yeah.
Well, if that's all, if everybody's okay with that, I'm just saying, what a terrible team to introduce. I know it wasn't a big win to have female Black Panther. That was not a win. It wasn't a win to have Namor. Namor is an Avenger now. Awesome.
No. Sorry. Who?
Namor.
There you go. That's better.
Sorry, I forgot the R's.
It's got to be done, mate. Come on,
You got to sound like a cat purring. Anyway, but there was nobody in here I recognized. And one of the best things about a panel I was on recently is the fact that people pointed out there was no Captain Marvel.
That was the first thing that I sat there for 5.5 hours, like on the edge of my seat, just dreading the moment the camera was going to pan to the right and I was going to see her stupid name. And it didn't happen. None of the Marvels.
Well, thanks for ruining one of the segments. We'll do it in this one, I guess. But yes, you are completely right. There was no Brie Larson announced. None of the actual Marvels. However, I have heard now since that it's looking like there's more announcements to come.
Yes.
Ugh.
And yeah, apparently she is going to be in it. But why would they not announce it?
Okay,
why would you not announce it with the 5.5 hour live stream?
Here's my
everybody would have turned it off.
Yeah, maybe. But here's my theory after yesterday's disaster. They're treating it like a deck of cards, and they've shuffled the deck so that they have some people that might be popular and all the Z tier people that Marvin talks about, because I don't want, new Falcon, Javier, whatever the heck his name is. I don't want Namor. I could go through a list of more things I don't want. We're going to have crippled Magneto and annoying Dr. X. I mean, I don't want Professor X. I don't want any of that.
As long as we get to watch him die again. That's what we said on that Park Place earlier. We're just like, it's becoming, oh my God, they killed Kenny kind of situation where every time Patrick Stewart pops up in these movies, now he dies.
Yeah. And it's not true. And it's not like anybody wants the aging what do we call them? X-Men characters to return. There's some we would like to see. I mean, and again, as long as they don't try to do things with Ian McKellen that makes him a robust fella, I think they might be able to get away with that. But bringing in Kelsey Grammer, I don't know. Bringing in,
well, they had him already, didn't they? At the end of the Marvel, so it makes sense. We'll get to that because that's part of the plot leak. It kind of makes some sense there, so we will get to that.
So my question
let's knuckle down on this and get to some of these comments here, because they're being roasted. Like they are actually being torn apart by their fans, and this is the key point here, isn't it? Have they lost it? I think so. I think they've lost all the goodwill. Friend of the channel, Valiant Renegades, like 4.6 million views of paint drying.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah. Again, people are like, oh, don't really want Mackie as a Cap, as Kappa's central figure. He's a B- character, reduced to C- because he's not Captain America. It just feels like leftover TV episode writing. Why couldn't we just get a Comic-Con panel? The videos with the crowd going crazy used to hype me up.
Mm-hmm.
5 hours. You recorded 5.5 hours of chairs, and you thought this was a clever way to promote a movie. Shake my head. This is the kind of commentary I'm talking about. Like, their active fan base is so small right now. It's so small. Does anyone even care anymore? And again, this is where that meme came from that I used as the thumbnail. And it's just a joke, guys. Don't, it's not a dick. Don't take it so hard. All right. There was no generic race swap girl boss, right? Like, I get that. I'm not saying that there was. It was just a funny meme because that is what they've done recently. But no one was announced like that.
There's a generic gender swapped girl boss in the Black Panther Letitia Wright.
Yeah, true. Well, I technically does become it in the comics, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Here you go. Wow, this is a poorly produced, boring misfire. Where's the old hype? Where is that anymore? Like, where is them coming out with a massive plan? Everything they're gonna do, everyone comes out, and there's all this hype, and it's just there's none of that. There's none of it. It's all gone. It's all gone. I think. Oh, gone.
Even going back to last year when they announced Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, that was total hype. Yep. When he took the mask off, that crowd went ballistic, and for a moment, I even got wrapped up in it until I stopped to think about it for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Waiting 10 minutes for each character is crazy. Marvel never do this again. Staring at a single chair for 10 to 15 minutes is crazy. I mean, it's just all of it. It's just non-stop. Worst reveal ever. Do it like Hall H. Have them come out one by one. Build the suspense. Don't have us staring at empty chairs for 30 minutes. You don't have that kind of goodwill with us anymore. Who thought this would go over well?
But here's, if I could push back on that for the Hall H thing. Do you think they thought if they did this in Hall H, it wouldn't have gotten a big reaction when they're bringing out Namor and the Sentry and these Z-list characters? Do you think that's why they did it like this? Because they don't have a Robert Downey Jr. to pull out?
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right there to a degree, actually. I mean, that might be it, right?
Who's having... who's going to pop for, David Harbour? And...
Yeah. Well, also with that, with the reveal, they revealed that everyone from the Thunderbolts lives beside Taskmaster. It's like, even the Sentry lives. It's like, okay, excellent, good. Like, what? So there's gonna be no suspense for Thunderbolts now. Why didn't they just wait to reveal that? Like, you only had to wait a month. What a weird thing to do, isn't it? That's so bizarre.
It's super weird. It's not like this movie is coming out this summer and they have to rush to make these announcements. They could have easily made this announcement in a few months' time.
Yeah, exactly. So strange, man. So strange. Unless, of course, they're going to be filming stuff outside and they know that people are going to be taking photos of them, I guess. That's the only thing I can think of. But I doubt that's the case. They'll probably be filming everything inside.
So. Look, this despite the poor reception of this event, though, you have the shills out there playing defense for it, saying that, we're all wrong. This is hype. What?
Oh, yeah, such hype, yeah. I've got more hype sitting on the toilet, for fuck's sake, honestly.
Yeah, look, somebody point out a real proper MCU film that's been good, and you can't say Deadpool and Wolverine, because that was an X-Men film. That was a Fox film. Point out a good one. It was a Shang-Chi and the Rings of, sphincter shrinkage. I don't know. I don't think so. There hasn't been something that's engaged everybody. I don't care. A lot of people would throw back at me the wrap up for the gun film series with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I would say no, it was not a good movie, and it wasn't really received all that well.
Yeah. So. You also had the Spider-Man movie, which was a Sony movie as well. Which those were the only good movies in the last two phases.
Yeah. I don't even count Spider-Man anymore. I that's a Sony property. and it's really it's a one for you, one for me kind of a superhero. It's one for Sony and one for Marvel.
You can count Deadpool more so for Disney than you could for
Yeah,
Spider-Man, because they don't make a cent on Spider-Man. They at least keep the money for Deadpool.
that's true.
Yeah, true. I mean, look, what a disaster! I think personally, absolute disaster, and I don't think this has gone down the way that they intended. So I thought it was worth covering. We got some super chats about this, so we'll get to them now. So Aurora Uplinks for $2 says, would love a Cold War era Marvel film where it's the end of the Cold War. Captain America actually fights a secret war to save Russia from some terrible thing they made. The Cold War ends is because America actually ends up saving Russia, creating trust. Yeah, I don't hate that idea. That's not a bad idea at all. Kalechi sent in $3 and says, funnily enough, there's a sped up version of the video of chairs passing, which is only about a minute long. They legit did this to waste everyone's time. Why not release the 1 minute vid instead? Yeah, seen that. Yeah, it's on their Twitter. It's madness. It's absolute madness, mate. Doesn't make a goddamn piece of sense. So yeah, Dark Hierophant says the empty chairs may be ominous to ticket sales. I like that, bud. That's a good one.
That's a good
one. Kevin Apollo, nice to have you on, dude. Says there is no plan. Feige doesn't have one, and he won't because he can't take credit for other people's work, i.e., Jon Favreau, Joss Whedon, and the Russos.
Yeah, that's the big thing. The second that the actual visionaries stepped away from Marvel, which you talk about Favreau, Whedon, and Russos, second they stepped away, Feige was exposed because now we're just left with Kevin Feige and his stupid ideas, and he doesn't have any.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. The Autonomous Penguin says, how does Marvel have any faith in the Russo brothers after the disaster that is the Electric State? They have not made a good movie since Endgame. I agree, actually. I do agree. I don't know. Maybe it's because they think that working alongside them, they can make something good. That's the only thing that I can think. That's the only thing I can think of, to be honest. I can't think of anything else. It's quite bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. So there you go. We will shuffle on now. Move on.